This is Retirement Keys with Anthony Kenlie from Crescent City Retirement Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Anthony provides his clients and prospects with the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful solutions to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now, here is Retirement Keys with your host, Anthony Kenlie.
All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Retirement Keys. My name's Anthony Kenlie, and we have a very special show for you today, so we're really looking forward to it. Before we get started, I just want to, first of all, thank Tony, our fabulous co-host, for being here. Tony, we couldn't do the show without you. Thank you so much for being here,
Anthony, that's a nice intro, and I'm happy to be on the show. I'm glad you invited me on the show once again. I love doing the show with you each week, and it's just, I know we've been really busy lately. This is a busy time of year for you. But I'm glad we're doing a new episode this week because we have a very special guest today, don't we?
You know, we really do, Tony. And I'd like to just, before I introduce Kenlie, I would like to just say that our guest today is here because of the things that I would say I have noticed over the years, many, many years, even with my own father. When he retired. You know, Tony, we, of course, are very, we believe that a well thought out retirement plan is key to a successful retirement. Right. And we talk about the financial aspects, the investments, the income, the tax implications, health care, all of the things that we know are so important as it relates to retirement planning. But Tony, I want to say, and the reason why I say this show is special is because really, I would say now, where I sit anyway, with the clients we have and the many years of retirement planning, I would say that the financial aspect of retirement obviously is very important, but there's also another aspect of retirement that I would say is equally important. And I'm not so sure we've spent much time at all in addressing it. And frankly, it's probably a little past my pay grade, but that's why I'm so happy to have our guest with us here today. And that, Tony, is really the purpose or the enjoyment or the fulfillment of retirement. So many people, when they retire, they may lose some of their identity. They've been a doctor for so many years, or a lawyer, or an accountant, or a mechanic, or a
radio show co-host.
A radio co-host, And so then the question is, when that radio co-host retires, and he's not doing that, or she's not doing that anymore, then how does retirement look? Is it going to be, and let's say, it has nothing to do with the finance. We're not talking about the finances. We're talking about the fulfillment, the enjoyment, the satisfaction, that the golden years that we all have talked so much about, that transition, if you will, into retirement, that next season of life. What does that look like, or what, and it's different for all of us, I'm sure. But the question is, we want to go into retirement and we want to enjoy our retirement. And so, I would say many people do, and they have figured that out. But there certainly is a percentage of people out here that do retire, Tony, and they really are not enjoying their retirement as would have been hoped. And so I'm hoping that Kenlie today, and I'm going to ask Kenlie to give us a little bit of her background, but she's a success coach. She's got a blog that she writes with Refuge. She's was a professor at Tulane, and so I'm going to let Kenlie introduce Kenlie and just let her tell us a little bit about her background and why we think she's so special as it relates to this topic. So, Kenlie, thank you so much for joining us, and just give our audience a little bit of a background on you.
Oh, sure. Thank you so much for having me. So, yes, as you said, I am a professor at Tulane, but I also have years of experience as a success coach and advisor. So, I have worked with people from a variety of backgrounds, and just like you're saying, I see that there are opportunities for people as they transition into a new season, and today that season we're talking about is retirement. There are opportunities to discover new levels of purpose and new levels of significance. So my background is in public health and communication. So I'm very familiar with behavioral concepts and constructs and different frameworks that allow us to move from, gosh, I really wish I could do this thing, to, hey, look at how it feels to have completed this thing. And so it's my hope that we can just have a conversation about discovering that purpose, what it looks like, because it sounds really good to say that. But today I just want to talk about the practical ways that we do that.
Very good, Kenlie. So what do you think, Tony? Are you at the edge of your seat?
I am. I think we all could use somebody like Kenlie in our lives. Wow. That's an impressive background. And I think it's really important. Happiness for everyone is important, and achieving that, but really having a peace of mind in retirement and being able to enjoy it, especially as we head into retirement. A lot of people aren't, because like you mentioned earlier, Anthony, they lose that identity. And so as a success coach, I know you help people be successful, but part of success is happiness too, right, Kenlie?
Oh, absolutely. I think that, we were all created to live an abundant life. And so that may look different for you than it does for me. It may look different for Anthony, but at our core, we all desire to live a life that is fulfilled. We desire to leave a legacy, an impact. And I know that a lot of the listeners now, because I'm familiar with this show and with Anthony's work, a lot of listeners, I have no doubt, have worked tirelessly to get to this point, and they are leaving a financial legacy. And we just want to make sure that we address the entire picture today.
Absolutely, Kenlie. So with all that said, what would you say some of the areas are that people should be thinking about? So I'm, getting close to retirement, or I'm in retirement. I mean, what are some of the areas that we should be considering and addressing?
So I think it starts, even before we break down the areas, it really starts with just understanding your personal expectations about retirement, because again, they're going to be different for everyone. So I know couples who have entered retirement and they are out there living their best lives. And then I know people who kind of struggle with it a little bit. And you talked about that a bit. So I think understanding those expectations is the first really important step in addressing your season of retirement.
So when you say expectations, so, obviously those expectations are going to look differently, as you say, depending on the person. What might some of those expectations, have you given some thought to what some of those expectations might look like?
Sure. Yes, definitely. I love this topic because anytime someone's transitioning into a new season, it's really important that we're able to look forward while we're enjoying the present, while we're figuring out what's going on today. So there are several areas that we'll talk about. And really, I just want to highlight 4 of those key areas. So when someone is transitioning into retirement, and look, I'm not retired. I want to first say I'm not yet retired, but I'm working toward a lot of those goals because I'm already thinking about that. And I think so many people have worked so hard to get to this point that now we want to be really diligent about actually experiencing the abundant life that they're hoping to experience in retirement. So a good place to start when we're looking at this new season is to just identify these areas And look, if you want to add other areas, it's a great practice, but the 4 key areas that most people typically address or it helps us find that full picture are financial health, physical health, emotional and spiritual health, and relational health. So I'll break that down a little bit if that's okay.
Please.
So obviously financial health, I know we're just going to skip over that one because you guys are already prepared in this way, but physical health, emotional, spiritual, and relational. So if we break that down, physical health might look different to someone in retirement than it did when they were, young parents. And so we want to that's an area that you just want to spend a little time identifying what that's like for you. Are there areas in your physical health that need to be addressed? Emotional and spiritual health. Anthony, I'm going to go ahead and say that this is the most important one because your perspective, regardless of the season, our perspective will have the greatest impact on our outcomes. So without getting super sciencey, the reality is that our perspective often dictates our health outcomes. So I think that's really important. And the other important area.
Can you just spend a little more time on that?
Sure.
So you're saying under emotional and spiritual health, you're saying our perspective. So help me with that. So perspective, like how what we perceive our emotional health to be or to look like.
It's what we perceive in our thoughts. So a lot of times our actions are always, and not even just a lot of times, always, our actions come as a direct result of our thoughts. So we have a thought, and what we think about, what we feed in our minds will grow. And so it's very important to recognize that our perspective will play a powerful role into going into that transitional season that becomes your new season of retirement. So, for example, if you say, "Well, Kenlie, I don't want to retire. I don't like this. I don't know what, blah," and you just are kind of angry about it, that's okay. That's a very natural response because you've worked so long to build something. So that would be an area where you might have to sit and do a little reflection. And I know that reflection is foreign to a lot of people, so I'll explain what I mean. So you might want to grab a journal or a piece of paper. Maybe you're a bullet points person, or maybe you're a person who just wants to write their thoughts as they're thinking them. That's what I do. But either way works. You might say, "Hey, this is an area of the emotional spiritual health. This is an area I've got some residual feelings about." So maybe that means writing what you miss about your work. Write about what frustrated you about your work. Write about what you're feeling right now. If you're frustrated, I know sometimes moving into that season can be overwhelming. If you're feeling like, what am I going to do with myself every day? So you start writing that down. It's not the time that you have to have answers. It's the time where you get all of your thoughts and feelings out. And I know that as I'm saying that, that's not something that's always comfortable for someone to do, especially if you've been conditioned to working the last 40 years. You don't have time to think about your feelings, but we've been conditioned as a society not to make time for that. But that's how we're healthy.
Yeah, very good. So guys don't ever think about their feelings, do they? Tony, what are you feeling right now?
Well, I'd like to head over to an all-you-can-eat pizza buffet. That's all I require to be happy. But
I'll tell you, it's so funny. If we brought my husband in, Michael, he would tell you what he's feeling right now but that's something that he has had to practice because it's so contrary to what we've learned. But there are a lot of people who are walking around unfulfilled and unhappy, and it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah. Some people, I think, instinctively, maybe they've just been so fed up with work and they're just so ready to go that, it's just, the transition is better. But that's not true for everybody,
right.
And so really getting in touch with, what is going to make me fulfilled, and what passions do I have? Where would I like to serve? Where do I feel I'm going to, really, thrive? And what does that look like? So emotional, you're saying, and then spiritual. So those two aspects probably go hand in hand, huh, Kenlie?
They do. They really do. And I think they couple well with relational health, which is the other key that we're talking about that today. So if you have been in a situation where, you're waking up every morning at 6 a.m. and you're out headed to the office or headed to the field to do the work that you're doing, and now suddenly that alarm really, it doesn't have to go off, but your body's still conditioned to that, then that can be something that really, you can put forth new effort, you can put forth a new passion there that maybe had to sit on the back burner. But I'm working with a couple right now, and they entered retirement this summer. And so they are adjusting from being gone all day, being away from each other all day. One of them worked for the federal government, and then one worked in the private sector. And they have now come together. And so they are learning again. It's almost like
who are you?
Right. Like a newly married couple,
Sure.
And so it's a very different sensation. But when we allow ourselves time to sit with these thoughts and to reflect, again, that goes back to what your expectations are. Once you have reflected on how you're feeling about it, and again, I know as I say that, I'm going to keep making the disclaimer. It is so important, because once you know how you're feeling about it, then you can start to prioritize what's most important to you in this season. So maybe it's being with your grandkids. Maybe it's, doing volunteering. And there are so many nonprofits, so many places in New Orleans area and all over where you can really go and make an impact. Maybe you have wisdom to offer to someone, and now you have the time and the capacity to be able to offer that. And so there's such an important just season when you have time to really just help raise up the next generation of people who are going to be doing the things that you did. And we can all learn from each other. And that's just one thing that you can do as you sort of begin. Once you have those 4 keys laid out and you start writing what's important to you, you'll be able to identify how you're going to leave a legacy moving forward.
Wow. So obviously, all these things are important, and you've done so much work as a coach, a success coach, and worked with people. And there's a website. I wanted to ask you, Kenlie, about the website you've worked with.
Oh, yes. So my website, herrefuge.com, is just my place where I go and work through all of the things that I'm working through. And it has kind of become now the place where I bring other people and I allow them to come and work through what they're working through side by side with someone, again, because we have things to learn from each other. So I'm a doctoral student at Tulane now. I'm getting a Doctor of Public Health in Leadership, Advocacy, and Equity. And one of the reasons that I write is because I just feel like I have things that I want to share. And another reason is that now, through my experience, through this last decade or so, I've gotten to meet so many people, and I realized that a lot of them have the same kinds of questions. So maybe someone realizes they're in the comparison trap. They can go to my website and understand how to come out of that sort of cycle of comparison, because that, as we know, comparison is the thief of joy, but it also steals everything else good from us. So they can come and just get resources like that. I do coaching and things like that. So I write because I want to, because it helps me. And I've really learned that the more willing I am to dig into what's going on and understanding the stages of change. There's a model, the trans-theoretical model, that helps us determine sort of how to change something. And so I write a lot about that, because people, whether they're 19 or 75, I'm finding that a lot of the questions at the core are the same. We all need to learn these things. There's value in this for everyone, and hopefully, hopefully someone reads it and finds something that can help them. That's the goal.
That's awesome. That sounds like a great resource for our listeners out there. What's that web address one more time?
It's herrefuge.com.
Oh, that's great. And Anthony, before we go on, why don't you let our listeners know really quick here? We'll take a break to let our listeners know if they want to get a financial plan in place or an overall retirement plan, how can they contact you?
Absolutely. So I just want to first say thank you so much for joining us today and listening in. And as I say, we're so happy and blessed and thankful to have Kenlie on the show today. You can absolutely go to our website at crescentcityretirement.com or call our office at 504-828-2171 to get that free consultation. We also have a very special offer, Tony, and I'd like to offer that if we could. You've been listening to our shows and advice on getting your finances in order and creating a retirement income plan that will last. Now is the time to take advantage of our special offer. This is Anthony Kenjemi with Crescent City Retirement Group, and we're now offering our 3-step retirement planning process at no cost and a $100 gift card to the restaurant of your choice upon completion of the planning process. Call Crescent City Retirement Group within the next 20 minutes at 504-828-2171. That number again is 504-828-2171.
And welcome back to Retirement Keys. I'm your co-host, Tony Shore. I'm here with our host, Anthony Kenjemi, and we've been talking about how to have happiness and success in retirement. Everyone wants to have a successful retirement. With our guest host today, Kenlie Fite. And Kenlie, great to have you on the show today. You talked about your website, herrefuge.com. That's HER, and then the word refuge, REFUGE.com. And Anthony, a great show. There are a lot of things, Kenlie and Anthony, that people can do. I know staying active is one. Volunteering is another way that people can stay socially active, and that keeps you happy in retirement as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely, Tony. And as I said in the beginning of the show, it really has become, I recognize being a retirement counselor, but emphasis on investments and income and taxes and all the things that are important on the financial aspect of retirement. I certainly now, because of the seat that I sit in with many clients who are retired, I do recognize this aspect of fulfillment, joy, purpose, and it has just become very interesting to me to see, or to try to drill down a little bit and say, well, why are these people so happy? And let me just say, it has nothing to do with money. I mean, I have clients that look, the financial aspect and the purpose and the enjoyment and the fulfillment. You could have clients that have very meager means that are much more happy than maybe clients. And that's not to say that it's the money is the problem. It's not. They both have well-designed plans, but why does some group have so much joy, so much passion, so much purpose, and another group doesn't? And so that's why I'm so happy to have Kenlie here today. That's why I'm happy to have her, help us with some of this material to get out to our clients and to start looking at this area as well, because I feel like our goal, right, as a retirement planning firm is to address the financial aspect, but also the whole piece of it. I mean, it's a shame to have spent all those years spending so much time, energy, effort to build this wonderful financial plan, retirement plan, but then not get all that, get out of it that you could in terms of fulfillment and joy. And so that's why I'm so happy to have Kenlie and Tony. You've been such a huge part of our this show and the success of this show. So I really just want to thank both of y'all for being here today. And, Kenlie, I had more questions. I wanted to talk a little bit about expectation and drill down a little bit on that, but I don't think we have time today. But I would like to get Kenlie back on, Tony, if we could.
Yeah, let's do a part 2 because we're out of time for today's show. But Kenlie, a lot of great information. I know we have a lot more questions for you regarding this, and it's very helpful. But before we go, Anthony, let our listeners know one more time how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us. Please go to our website. All of these shows are archived on our website, so crescentcityretirement.com. You can go there. If you'd like to schedule a visit to our office or one of our offices, we'd love to meet with you. And, we'll put the retirement plans together, all aspects of it. And we're just happy to do that for you as a second opinion. It could really be worth its weight in gold. So we appreciate you joining us and hope to hear from you. Our number is 504-828-2171, or just simply visit our website at crescentcityretirement.com to reach out.
All right. Well, thank you, Anthony and Kenlie. That does it for today's episode of Retirement Keys with our host, Anthony Kinjemi. Thank you for listening to Retirement Keys. Don't pay too much for taxes or retire without a sound income plan. For more information, please contact Anthony Kinjemi at Crescent City Retirement Group. Call 504-828-2171 or visit the website at crescentcityretirement.com. All matters discussed during this show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. Anthony Kinjemi and Crescent City Retirement Group are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency.